Hello, everyone. We're going to give a couple of minutes for people to hop on. Please feel free to use the chat, comment where you're from. You can also introduce yourselves in the chat as well. And looks like we have a good number of participants in the room. So I'll get started. My name is Brittany Rivera. I am the program director for EMSDC. And welcome to UpNext with Pfizer. So for those of you who may not know, I'll just give a brief overview as to Pfizer's mission and purpose. So Pfizer's mission is to be the premier innovative biopharmaceutical company, making breakthroughs that changes patients' lives. Good health is vital to all of us, and finding sustainable solutions to the most pressing healthcare challenges of our world cannot wait. That's why Pfizer is committed to improve health and well-being at every stage of life. They strive to provide access to safe, effective, and affordable medicines and related healthcare services to the people who need them. Pfizer has a leading portfolio, of products and medicines that support wellness and prevention, as well as treatment and cures for diseases across a broad range of therapeutic areas. And at Pfizer, they have an industry-leading pipeline of promising new products that have the potential to challenge some of the most feared diseases of our time, like Alzheimer's disease and cancer. So join me in welcoming Pfizer for our UpNext session, and I will pass the mic to Damon Williams. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the warm welcome, Brittany and EMSDC. And thank you to all my colleagues who are willing to join us today in the spirit of expanding the awareness of what we do, how we source it, and the practices that we use to increase supplier diversity. So that said, we will just get started. I may have seen quite a few of you around in plenty of events, but my name is Damon Williams, and I'm one of the supplier diversity managers here at Pfizer in the New York headquarters. So the agenda today will be briefly just some introductions. I imagine that we will just also reintroduce ourselves as we go forward before we go into our respective categories, but give you some program highlights about what it is that we have done and are accomplishing currently with the Supply Diversity Program here, some of our aims and goals, and a brief overview of our company and the meat and potatoes of what you're here for, which is the category deep dives and how to do business with us and what we're looking for. So the colleagues that are on this call today are myself, Ms. Tracy Clark, Mr. Omar Sanchez Diaz, and Ms. Amanda Antoinette Messina, representing various different categories of purchasing within the Pfizer unit. We are representing from an international level, actually, and we do have purchasing that extends to all corners of the globe. So that said, wanted to just make sure that you're aware that our capacity to source and procure does extend to all the different reaches of the planet in order to make medicine that helps change patient lives. So very brief overview of our supplier diversity program. Our director is Ellen Jameson, and you may have seen my colleague or heard of my colleague, Colleen Masia, who's been here for a while doing supplier diversity. And I just joined this team in November. And one of the three units that I work with primarily are business operations services, our direct materials unit, and Pfizer research and development, which you may see as PRD. And our chief procurement officer is Mr. Sursich Pershin. And Pfizer has goals on some of our contracts for our prime contractors to commit to in terms of tier 2 diverse supplier spend, meaning that we do encourage our primes to work with any contractors that are diverse, small business owned, and accomplish goals through their contracts that they have directly with us from a tier 1 level. We also do seek tier 1 opportunities in various areas that you will hear about shortly as well moving forward with our sourcing colleagues. But the main goal of our supply diversity program is to increase the economic development and impact that we have in various communities. Primarily, the core value of equity is represented through this department. And we do travel to various national events around the country, still working on international. Hopefully we can get somebody to host in Puerto Rico, hint, hint. But That all said, it's a pleasure to be here with you all today. Please ask any questions that you have in the chat. I'll be gladly getting back to you. Going forward. Just some small achievements that we wanted to highlight from 2023. So we had some breakthrough spend increases, and year over year, our goal is to consistently increase the value of expenditures with diverse suppliers and contracting opportunities. We do work with the WeBank, as you can see, the NMSDC, as well as all the affiliates of NMSDC, and NGLCC, as well as Disability In. And we do host mentorships as well through these programs. So we have mentored over 10 to 15 companies in the past 2 to 3 years. And we currently have 3 to 4 new mentees enrolled for 2024, which is exciting. And we look to try and expand the businesses from every capacity that we can. And this provide them the resources that they need in terms of growth and advice, whether it's through networking or other areas, especially expanding within the pharmaceutical space. So we did meet our target spend in 2023, and we're continuing to just try and develop our program as we move forward. This is a global program. Of course, the primary hub that we operate is in the United States, but the effort and support that we have around the globe is much appreciated. And Pfizer's team is committed to consistently trying to meet diverse spend goals and along with small business goals, especially within the United States. And just to give you a brief view of our roadmap here, so essentially, we do set the targets early on in the year or at the beginning of the year, and we have inclusive sourcing practices, which is incorporating diverse suppliers in our request for proposals. And part of what my job is and what I like doing is going out and meeting most of you and creating the connections and learning about what unique capabilities that you bring to the table. If you can help us create innovations and breakthroughs that change patient lives, we would love to talk to you. And it could be in any way, shape, or form, or if you can help us operate our business better in terms of ways through consulting or other things that your company offers, please let us know. This is exactly why we believe in supplier diversity, the strength in increasing our supply chain, as well as making sure that we leverage all the different strengths and utilities that our suppliers have and can bring to the table here. As I mentioned before, we do host our mentorships. We currently have 3 to 4 new enrollees for 2024 already. And we do make sure that our data is legitimately, we do make sure that we try to give accuracy in all of our reports and consistently provide the government, we report to the federal government, all of the necessary details that they look for to make sure that this program is operating and continues to be best in class, and really try to generate awareness of why this program is important and why we move forward in doing what we do. So that said, I'm going to introduce us to our category colleagues. So Tracy, you'll be up first. I just ask if you can just give an overview of what it is that you do at Pfizer and get into some of the details about your sourcing practices and specifically the things that you look for when you're looking for a new supplier. That's it again. Thank you, Tracy. Pass it over to you.
Welcome all to the call. Thank you for participating and joining. So my name is Tracy Clark. I've been at Pfizer for 27 years. I've been out of the Groton, Connecticut site for that entire time. I was actually a lab-based person in drug metabolism for 20, and I moved into a procurement role. I've been there since 2019 for 5 years. So I'm a category manager, and so my category is in the research and development space. So, and specifically, I focus on preclinical toxicology, lab models, in vivo services, and human biospecimens. But my team folks on my team span many different areas, other categories such as precision medicine, bioanalysis, chemistry, biology, ADME related, and even clinical. Some aspects of clinical also find their way into the R&D space. So even though I'm not in charge of all those other categories, I have connections with folks that do manage them. And it's global, as Damon mentioned. Most of our sites that need this support are within the US, but We do reach outside the US to source as part of our sourcing strategy. So the process for us to identify new vendors happens in many different ways. I've attended a couple diversity conferences like Diversity Alliance for Science. And that's a good venue to to identify, but also in other means. And once we have a pool of a list of vendors and the stakeholders, I don't work in a vacuum by myself. I have to engage with my Pfizer stakeholders and clients because they also have a list of their own. They also have what they're looking for. And then I bring in like some, other ones that they might not have thought of from the diversity perspective. So once we get this list together, we use an Ariba e-sourcing tool to tee off an event. And we might be just looking for a request for information. So that just might be a small set of initial questions to see if, the vendor has the capacity, the timing, the ability to do the various needs of my clients. So once there's like an initial RFI, and it doesn't always happen, there's not always the way things go, but then we'll take a short list and go into a request for proposal, which that's more an exhaustive event, an e-sourcing tool, asking a lot more in-depth questions, getting around, asking about pricing. And there are occasions when we do this outside the system in Excel, but predominantly use Ariba. And what we're doing more of these days too is we're asking our vendors to help us to work together to come up with some novel new approaches and models for both parties, right? So to grow a vendor, but also to help us save money, to help us do things quicker. And we actually, we don't dictate, we actually look for, suggestions the other way. And that seems to be, more of our norm actually these days than before, where we would have dictated what we need. We're looking for some innovative solutions. So then the Pfizer stakeholders are involved in the whole process, reviewing the information, and it's not always the cheapest they go with. It's not always like the fastest they go with, but they're critical because they're the ones that are the budget holders, not me. So they're the ones that, end up helping with the selection. And then at that point, then I will draw up a agreement. If it's a strategic supplier, we have rate cards, negotiate rate cards. We include volume discounts to incentivize the business. One tool that I want to mention, which is really, really good for new vendors to get visibility, because I frankly do not know all my stakeholders or all people across Pfizer what their needs are. We have this tool called scientist.com, and we use it as part of our strategy in R&D as an initial look for vendors that can do various services, niche vendors. We do some bidding in that platform. I tell my Pfizer clients when they're like doing a pilot study to go through the tool initially, because we frankly can't hold, we've had a lot of changes here at Pfizer. We can't hold thousands of agreements. And so this tool, scientist.com, they manage put together a short agreement and manage that vendor relationship and allow our researchers just to go in and make contacts. It's a great tool because you make the initial contact, but thereafter you can have your communications outside the system. So not everything needs to be done in scientist.com after the initial connection. I can't say enough about it. We've been using it for many years, and it's done a lot of good for the R&D space. So then when we get the critical and strategic suppliers, for when they get to be a multi-year agreement with a large spend, we will pull them outside the tool, and then they'll be part of an annual SRM review, which is a supplier relationship management review process. There's a lot of due diligence that gets put in place now, performance metrics, KPIs. So there's a lot more to when we get a strategic vendor going. There's a lot more to the oversight there. So that's a little bit about the sourcing process. It's hard to summarize everything we do in one slide. So my category needs, like needs today. So in the preclinical toxicology space, we have some preferred providers. They acquired and merged, and so our pool has gotten smaller. So we are looking to, develop vendors in this space, work with vendors in specific toxicology study types as a relief valve, and also to, broaden the base. We're not looking to broaden the base, to 20 different vendors, because then that gets really hard. These are GLP, some of it, studies, and so that requires a lot of management. So we're not looking for 20 vendors, but we are looking to add some more into our mix. We're also looking for additional animal diet, bedding, caging, enrichment suppliers. We use consultants, but again, a lot of changes at Pfizer. We need to look outside for some consultants on occasion in the pathology space. Preclinical toxicology subject matter experts is what we call them, so that, on an ad hoc basis, we can engage when we, have questions that we don't actually have internal expertise to answer. In vivo wise, and how much time do I have? And I don't remember if it's.
We didn't exactly have a time frame set,
Right.
so as thorough as you need to be. Thank you. I'm learning too.
Time check. Thanks. Okay, thanks, Damon. In the in vivo space, we are looking for. We do work outside of the U.S. For routine-based type of rodent PK, but we are looking for additional vendors in this space as well. High quality, quick turnaround, competitive providers that can generate in vivo services, as well as produce supplies in this space. We're looking to expand there. The insourcing solution options is an interesting one, where we have vendors internal come inside of Pfizer to do some of the vivarium support, do the animal husbandry, in vivo technicians. We'll be doing a refresh in that space as an official RPR5 process in 2025, and looking to, because we need to do what's called a market analysis every 3 to 5 years in a space where we have a decent amount of spend, or it's a more of a global solution. We need to do a market analysis of a space every 3 to 5 years, just to make sure, are there other options we should be considering? Is the contaminant still the way to go, or is there somebody else who brings to the table something, less expensive, something, has some better attributes, maybe filling the gaps that the current one isn't doing, or some performance challenges that aren't really getting solved. In the human biospecimen space, this strategy in this space is really predominantly to go through scientist.com. Actually, we've let a lot of our agreements expire with our direct agreements with our suppliers of human biospecimens, and we onboard them into scientist.com. It's not to say that we don't have direct agreements with some of them. We do. Just depends on what they're doing for us. But as a strategy, really, scientist.com is the first front for this particular subcategory of my category. We're looking, for low cost offerings, unique sample types, and also doing all this compliantly, right? That's key to Pfizer. We have corporate policies on human materials privacy. There's a lot of compliance aspect of the human biospecimen space. And we're also looking at options for managing cell line repositories. Our cell line purchasing across Pfizer is kind of every group for their, for themselves, but we're looking to become more strategic there. And we would like everyone at Pfizer to know if a cell line's purchased in La Jolla, California, and we have a license to it, that everyone across Pfizer is aware of that. And it's not trivial, it's not trivial because we're gonna have to find the solution. Someone's gonna have to come up with a budget, and we have to sell the idea, because there are individual pockets, but sell the idea across Pfizer. But there's an opportunity here to do this more globally than it's been done. Because we have run into situations where we pay for licenses twice for a cell line because folks don't know, across the country that already exists. And the supplier may not also, have that information readily available when we actually engage with them. All right, so I've mentioned scientist.com a few times over. And actually scientist.com is also called Assay Depot on our end, and that's actually a diverse supplier, in fact. So that's one of our key diverse suppliers, actually. So it coming into the tool, knowing that is good, for this audience. Another way to engage us, after a 2-year hiatus due to the pandemic, we weren't allowed to travel, but now we are attending conferences. So I went to the Society of Toxicology conference. A lot of us are going off now and attending conferences, and we know it costs money to go, but that's really where a lot of like impromptu meetings happen. I wouldn't have thought of Vendor X unless I went to, SOT this year. My whole day was filled with basically meetings and dinners and lunches with all these different vendors, trying to identify new ones we hadn't ever known about, to try to grow that space. And there's going to be a subsequent RFP coming out in the second half of this year as a result of some of those conversations from that conference. So, we encourage our stakeholders to identify and select diverse suppliers to participate. It's not easy to always find those. So, feel free after the call. My contact information, I think, is in this deck, to reach out to me directly. That's, a way to get some visibility. Forwarding your presentation right away in an email, presenting to Pfizer stakeholders is a good way to get a conversation going. Doesn't mean that there's always going to be an outcome of that, but it's a way to hear your message more broadly. Now, again, it's a little bit hard on our end, leading the category, to know all the right people to invite to those meetings, by the way, those presentations. But word of mouth and things get spread, and sometimes there's uptake as a result of that. So due to budgets, Pfizer needs and the pre-existing vendor pools that we have, there is some limitation. Our budgets are set every year. They're definitely not growing. So, we're not going to be able to onboard a lot, but we are looking to, stratify a little bit more. So my message to you all is, not to get frustrated. I've heard it from attending some of the diversity conferences, is it's hard to get in here to Pfizer. It's hard to get to the right people. It's not to get frustrated. Keep going and keep at it. Continue to reach out through all the different means that I mentioned, and that my colleagues supporting the other categories will in the next few slides. But to keep that, and know Damon, and know Colleen, and know Ellen, and seek those folks out when you're at these diversity conferences, because they know more people across multiple categories. And so they'll be able to disseminate your information to the right people to say, if I'm not in attendance, or no one from R&D is in attendance at one of these conferences, it's a good place to go up and reach out to them, and they'll send the information around. So I'll pause there, and I know we'll do a Q&A at the end, Stephen. So
yeah, and Tracy, thank you very much. I'm actually gonna see if we can have you speak at all the events, because you just represented us really well. I appreciated that. No, thank you. And the information that you gave us is stuff that you will often not hear anywhere else. I mean, this is coming straight from the subject matter expert folks. So I would implore you to please follow Tracy's advice. Tracy, would you mind if I shared your email address in the in the chat at all, that's fine. Okay,
Yeah,
but
that's
we'll
fine.
do that.
Yep. Yes.
And anyone who has a business that lines up within this field, within this realm, please, I encourage you, yes, follow up with Tracy, copy me in, and let's see where we might be able to support you and help you move forward again. But thank you, Tracy. Yes, we'll leave some time at the end. We did get a few questions about scientist.com. So I don't know if you have any expertise with that, but we might be able to address it in the chat. And to move forward now, our next category we're representing is the direct materials packaging space with Miss Amanda Mazzina. Amanda, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Damon. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Mazzina. I currently work as a category execution partner in secondary printed packaging. I've been with Pfizer for around 3 years now in the procurement space, so definitely enjoying it here. So I'm just gonna so today I'm just gonna talk about the direct packaging team here at Pfizer. So just to kind of give you guys a little bit more idea, we have around 700 million in spend for the packaging components. Some key components include bottles, closures, delivery devices, flexible and rigid plastics, and secondary materials. These are really used for the sterile injectable sites, small molecules, and biotech businesses. And so for the category management team, we are responsible for supplier management, contract negotiations, sourcing, so RFIs and RFPs, strategy plans, and financial reportings. So, and regarding our tender process, we utilized Ariba e-sourcing, and specifically for request for information and request for pricing. So strategic sourcing really involves the need for identifying new suppliers and initiating vendor development. In regards to supplier development, it includes site audits, line qualifications, development agreements, and or kind of master supply agreements. So another critical and strategic supplier, it will undergo SMR reviews, and this will kind of provide continuous improvement opportunities to remain in our portfolio. And just moving on to kind of some main category needs for suppliers. One would be company and business capabilities, like are you able to produce at high volumes, things like that. And another would be compliance. So in regards to quality audits, supplier and technical capabilities, business continuity plans, and sustainability. Another would also be light speed delivery. This really is prompt turnaround times to supporting our life-saving products. Last but not least, industry competitive pricing, aligning with indexes and things like that. Overall, I hope this was able to provide some awareness, and hope you guys can get involved with some of Pfizer's network. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Very well done. Just to give some context behind this, direct materials is a very difficult space to source in. A lot of it's a very group of niche industrial products from that end, but even down to the packaging, as Amanda had detailed, there are a lot of specifics that have to be addressed. Packaging, labeling, several regulations that are in place to make sure that we get medicine delivered safely to our patients. So it's a very highly scrutinized field. Nonetheless, if you do have the questions, again, I encourage you, reach out to us so that we can give you some background. We do have diverse supplier participation already in this field. And as she mentioned, this is forecasted spend of $700 million. There's a piece of the pie there that can be obtained for you. All right. And moving on next. Thank you again, Amanda. Great job.
Thank you.
I'd like to go to Omar. Omar, can you just give us a brief overview? Yes, sir.
Yes.
And if you do want to share anything separately, again, I know we joined late, but feel free to click that green share button at the bottom of the screen.
Oh, don't worry. And I just want to say thank you to Tracy and Amanda, right? Because they did an amazing job and made my life easier. So I would not repeat what they said, right? So Omar Sanchez, I've been with actually procurement for 22 years. Started at the Barceloneta site in Puerto Rico. So I've been around for the diversity teams and my diversity council for a while now. Currently, I'm working with the PGS sites, more specific to small molecules and inside small molecules in the emerging market sites. We have around 39 sites across the world. So our meeting scheduling is kind of hard to do, right? Hard to get all the parts of the world in one call. And it provides a different perspective, right, on diversity and all the mixes that we have in our production. As part of the professional service that we have right now, Pfizer is comprised in 4 primary categories for consulting and advisory, legal services, finance and administration, and translations. You can see that in the middle section. And just a brief, I just want to mention what Tracy mentioned about the Arriva e-sourcing. I think it's really good tool that we're using. It also has a question, are you using a diverse supplier, right? Like it's constantly reminding everyone the importance to include diverse suppliers from the get-go, right, on the RFI and the RFPs into the negotiations. As part of what we provide to PGS, we provide that business continuity, right, which is what we're looking forward to have in a vendor that provide that business continuity, that provide the service the sites will require, right, at different levels. I would say again, as Tracy mentioned, it is important that you continue to go to the shows, that you continue. It does take time. We have heard that, right? We have been there in the late times in Puerto Rico. The Pfizer site has transitioned to another companies, but we had a packaging vendor that was approved in our late stage of Pfizer. And it took us around 2 years for the testing and all the processes that we do. So yes, it is a lengthy process, but it provides the support that we need, and that's really important. We constantly are encouraging our stakeholders to invite our minority-owned business right to the RFPs. And then we encourage our minority-owned business to present their capabilities to our stakeholders. I think this is very important. At the top, we have a few information about there's no preferred films, right? We have pre-qualified consulting firms that they have participated previously and they have gone through the process. And once they are in that list of pre-qualified consulting firms, then it's easier to do the process. But it's not a preferred firm that is there fixed. It is a continuous process that we continue to add a vendor to that type of list to provide services across a lot of functions that we have on the PGS sites.
Thank you very much, Omar. I appreciate it. Yes, everyone. That, as I said before, really, I should thank all of you the same way you thank Tracy and Amanda, because folks, this is the dream team that we have here right now. Again, massive experts in this. And Omar, you're all set, right? I can move forward?
Yes, you can move forward.
Thank you very much. Again, joining even from Puerto Rico. Thank you so much. So, folks, just to give a small wrap up of everything that we discussed, you did hear from some subject matter experts specifically in the space of medicine manufacturing, research and development, packaging, as well as consulting and various other services we have. This does not limit the capacity to which you can work with Pfizer. We do have an indirects category, which would be the typical things you'd find like construction, construction management, electrical hardware, things of the nature that help us operate as a business and continue our general expansion and support. But this direct materials category is more of a specialty where you may not find as much information out there in the open. But to reiterate, this is where a lot of how our medicine is manufactured, our discoveries are made, and the breakthroughs that change patients' lives happen. And we are looking for folks that have innovation in this capacity. So again, thank you very much. Please take a look at the Supplier IO QR code, register for our vendor portal. We just implemented Supplier IO. Our primes will be utilizing it to report their tier 2 spend. And it's another resource for our sourcing agents to find out more about you as a company, your profile, and see if that you're a good fit for whatever opportunity it is that they're trying to source for. I've included in the chat our supplier diversity general email box as well. And Omar, if you're comfortable, I would share can I share your email in the chat too? I will do that shortly also. But yes, we do have time for Q&A. So Brittany, I don't know how you want to coordinate this. I know we have this separate chat, but please let me know
Yeah,
what you want to do.
one, I want to thank everyone in the Pfizer team for joining us today. I think we've had some great information that our diverse suppliers can take away. We do have a few, which I do see some questions in the chat as well as Q&A. I'm going to go with who we left off with. There's a question for Omar specifically. It says, Omar, can you please provide more details regarding the specialty services? I'm not sure if you can give us a quick rundown on what that would be, but feel free to unmute yourself if necessary.
Can you repeat that question, Brittany?
Yes, it was Omar. Can you please provide more details regarding the specialty services?
That's a tough one to. Sorry, Omar, if you want to take it, let me know.
Yeah, this is really focused and unique expertise, right? It's more into oncology, benchmarking in that area. It is, I would say, it is the latest that we're focusing more, right, on that oncology section. So it's coming more and more as we work through that, right? And it's very niche specific. I would say is a little bit more specific than the direct components.
Thank you. I do see a couple questions regarding if this will be shared with all who have registered. So this is actually being recorded. What will happen is this will be placed on EMSDC's video library where we share all of our recordings and webinars. So although we will be sending this out to registrations and registrants, anybody really can access the information who goes on our video library. So that answers that question. As far as the next question, I believe it has to do with pre-qualifications. And it says pre-qualification procedures. Could you elaborate on this process?
So that can vary between PGS site, but the basics are they're gonna source for information on the vendor, right? Financials, insurance, to make sure they comply with Pfizer requirements. And once those Pfizer requirements are met, they're pre-qualified, right, to do service on the site. Of course, depending on the type of service, it might require a master service agreement. So that's part of the process as well. Once business has been awarded to a vendor.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Robert James. It says, do suppliers need to register on a portal as a first step? If so, could you please provide the link? Or is this not necessary to do business with Pfizer? Thank you.
So I'll take this one. This is not necessary to do business with Pfizer. It is highly suggested because it's the way, again, this is the first line of or the first target for us. When we're trying to find diverse suppliers, we will go into the database and take a search. It is not required to do business with us, however, but I recommend it as a first step. Also, in the general chat, I've posted our supplier diversity at Pfizer.com email. Reach out and indicate that you were on this conference call. Let us know that, please, because we do get a lot of traffic there. I'm sure many of you have seen and heard of this, as you can imagine, but it will at least draw my eyes to it. And I'll know that, okay, you received some of the information and you're looking into some of the feedback that you might be able to obtain going forward after this call. Did I address every part of that, Brittany, or is there anything else I'm missing?
I think that addresses what the question was. I see that there's a few industry specific questions. I'm not sure if we want to answer these here or directly through email, but I'll read them just so the team can be aware. The question is, I am a freight broker, and what options do does Pfizer have being a subcontractor for services of moving products?
So as a subcontractor, I mean, that's really going to depend on the prime, if the prime needs it. If you're a freight contractor though, and you're talking, it would depend on the business line. But if we're talking somebody who can freely organize logistics for us, if we need various deliveries, say we need you to deliver a carton of medicinal tablets from here to North Carolina, then that's something, it's very specific and would depend on the need. So if you have information, again, send it to that website. I'm sorry, send it to the email address that I indicated before, and we can relay that to the sourcing agents and the district channels team so that they know that this option is available for them. But truthfully, again, if it's a subcontracting opportunity, that's going to depend on the prime as needed.
Thank you. Mike Diaz asked, are there any opportunities in project and program management space?
Yes, there are. And not to sound like a broken record, it is something that would have to come up and be addressed with a specific sourcing agent who they're not on the call, but we can connect you to the proper folks. And I'm sorry, other panelists, I don't mean to hog the questions. If you do have anything you want to chip in, feel free. I literally went through this last week at another conference, so that's why I'm refreshed on the answers.
Well, that's always good. That's always good to be ready. So our next question comes from Helena. The question is, how or does Pfizer support food as medicine supplements and or nutraceuticals? Sorry.
Can you repeat that one more time?
How or does Pfizer support food as medicine supplements and or nutraceuticals?
Oof, that one I would have to get back to somebody on. I don't know if Tracy, is there anything you have on this one? That is a very specific question that I've never been asked before. So great question. You said this was Helena that asked it?
Yeah, Helena.
Okay.
Yeah.
Helena, you stumped me. That doesn't happen very often.
I don't have an answer either to that one.
Okay. Jennifer asks, for the Q&A, after a supplier is qualified and a master agreement is created, how long does the agreement last? What's the period of time the agreement lasts?
Variable. Yeah. So variable depends on what it is, how long it might be needed for. So, I mean, I have master agreements that are 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and then they get extended if there's still needs. So, I mean, there's not a one size fits all to everything. We have limited service agreements. We have short form agreements. We have master agreements. We have a variety of options for a direct agreement when and if the time comes.
Yeah, and the basic one would be, let's say a general one would be 3 years, and you can extend 1 year each time for up to 5 years, right? And then, as Tracy mentioned, there could be one specific because you have then, let's say, pricing or some type of service specific to time bound, and then that would be depending on that time bound, right? It could be 6 months, it could be 5 years, it could be more. But let's say the basic will be 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work to put a master agreement in. So like making it only a year is it's not like, it's a lot of work because there's a 60-page document can be. So a real true master.
Thank you so much. Neil Lambari, and excuse me if I'm mispronouncing your name, asks, where can we find current prime contractors in the leadership coaching and DEI coaching space?
Okay, so I know I literally just typed out an answer to him, unfortunately. But I know I'll still just respond orally so everyone can see. Nilambari, that's something we would have to get back to you on. You're not exactly going to find a list of whoever is doing it unless they advertise it on their website saying Pfizer is one of their clients. But there are people who do practice business in this space that are diverse suppliers. I just met a woman-owned supplier at the conference last week who does our executive coaching, and she's been doing it for Pfizer for about 15 years now. So it does happen, but I think it'll be on a case-by-case or departmental need basis as to where they might have to leverage that type of service.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you. I think there's two more questions in the actual Q&A, so I'll go through those really quickly. I'm going to start with Edna first. Are there opportunities in data analytics space?
This one I can pose to my digitals team and see. So for reference, I mean, we'd have to be more specific. I'm sorry, data analytics is a very large encompassing industry. So we're not just talking, it depends on if you're talking analyzing our numbers, analyzing ways that we can integrate medicine, demographics into the community. I've seen various types of businesses that approach us with different models of doing it. So I would suggest let us know whatever the niche is or the niche is that you want to present to us inside of that space, and we can direct you where to go. Really, I can direct you where to go and who to speak with in terms of how they'd want to do business with that. But from a digital end and a standpoint end, I mean, there possibly is an opportunity. We can't guarantee it, but it's worth the ask once we know what you have to offer.
Okay, perfect. Um, Amy asked a question in regards to exciting events coming up. Amy, I'm not sure if you were referring to EMSDC or Pfizer specifically. However, any exciting events with EMSDC can be found on our website under the events tab. As far as Pfizer's concerned, I'm not sure if you may have some on-site events that you all host or do, but if you do, please feel free to share.
And from our end, we actually had recently, we just hosted an event on April 23rd. It was our Pfizer Supplier Diversity Summit, where we just tried to we extended the invitation out to several of our mentees as well as other suppliers that we have worked with, that we're trying to work with, and expand their opportunity to just work with Pfizer before. So it was fairly successful. I'm hoping that we have the resources to be able to do it again next year. This year was sort of our first trial run, so it was very small and very targeted. But going forward for Pfizer, we can keep you in the loop and make sure, again, that you're registered in that supplier IO database so that we know who we can target and let us know. It lets us know where you live, what the demographic is, and the area you're located in.
Perfect. So we do have 7 minutes left of this presentation. There are still some questions coming in, which is always a good thing. So Natalie asked, would I use the same information to become a supplier for Pfizer Pro or Pfizer Oncology? Also, is there any small business supplier that is considered too small?
That depends. Again, so good question for the first part of that. In terms of Pfizer Pro, can you repeat that part, Brittany?
Yes, it said, would I use the same information to become a supplier for Pfizer Pro or Pfizer Oncology?
Okay, so the Pfizer Oncology division is something that's slowly expanding right now. Recently, Seagen was acquisitioned. It's been a major facet of the business model going forward. So these kind of things may not exactly have a clear picture to them right now, just because it's still in the initial stages of how we're adapting that business model to what we currently do. But going forward in terms of Pfizer Pro, really, if you're just talking the general Pfizer biotech division or Pfizer general business model, the registration again is not required. If a sourcing colleague were to find you today and do business with you today, and you tell them you're not registered in supplier IO, that's not going to affect your status. It's more or less helps you get noticed by us because it's a resource that we will be using. And is there a business that is too small? It really depends on the need and it depends on you. If you don't have the bonding capacity to do work at a multi-million-dollar level, and that's the contract level that we're trying to solicit for, I would advise you not to proceed with an opportunity, or I'd advise you to seek a joint venture so that you do have the resources to match that level of business.
Okay, thank you. Are there opportunities in nursing and or employee health and wellness space?
Okay, I was just typing this one out too. This is kind of, it depends on the clinical trial space and needs. This is the pharma, to be clear, this is a pharma-based company. And while they do work with healthcare hand in hand, there is a difference generally and specifically between how the two operate. Pharma is more focused on medicine, research and development, healthcare, and is more the patient treatment as well as patient wellness. So in this case, I would say there is possibly, if we're doing clinical trials type of ordeal, or we're testing out a new medicine and we need nursing / healthcare professionals at investigative sites, or people that are going to be working with clinical trial participants directly. But that's, again, a specific need is for a specific department. I can get back to you on who exactly it is that we need to speak with, but I'm going to type in my answer anyway, so you'll see it.
Perfect. I think Charles asked a question again in regards to logistics, but Charles, I think Damon mentioned that the logistics portions are really controlled by the prime. And correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's correct. And again, that would depend on the specific need. Like if you're talking, if we reach out to our district distribution managers and they say, hey, we need somebody to do this type of job, they might already have existing agreements in place, but it's worth asking that team. So that's something I could work with you on directly, though. Charles, it was Charles. Yes, I can try and work with you directly on it. Please just reach out to me.
Perfect. So I believe we have answered all the questions within the Q&A and in the chat. So if that is the case, once again, I would like to thank Pfizer and the team for doing our UpNext. Again, we have such a great information that you all have shared with us in regards to your expertise. We will be sharing this recording with the registrants and posting the video to our video library for you to access at your convenience. I believe Pfizer has shared everyone's on-calls, emails. So if you have any direct questions relating to Pfizer and their processes, please contact them directly. And you can also CC us at EMSDC. But if that is the case, I would like to, once again, thank everyone. And, we'll look forward to the next UpNext.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. And to my dream team who signed on, I appreciate all of you dearly. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.